Hi, and welcome back to Gavin's Sonex B. Well, I've been doing some work on the canopy frame. It's still way too cold outside to do the actual canopy itself, so I've been thinking about what to do next. So what I've decided to do is get the engine out, and as many of you will know, I'm using the AeroVee Turbo in my Sonex, and that comes as a kit which you've got to build, which is even more fun. So what I've done is I've got all the boxes out and refamiliarised myself 3.5 years down the line as to what's in the boxes, and got the manual out, got the DVD out, and I've already watched the DVD instructions all the way through, and I'm in the process of downloading any updates to the manual, because obviously that evolves over time, and in the last 3.5 years there have probably been some updates, or I know there have been some updates, but it's important when you're building the engine to have all the latest information. So on the bench next to me I have put the block, the Volkswagen, well, for those who don't know, the AeroVee is basically a Volkswagen Beetle engine, bored and stroked out to 2.1 litres, and the version I'm building has a turbocharger attached to it to get 100 horsepower out of it. So what I'll do is I'll turn the camera around and you can see the block actually on the bench here. So there we go, that's one stock Volkswagen Beetle engine block. It's aluminium, it's a split block, so it's got a join right down through the middle, and the two halves come apart, because obviously it's a flat engine with two cylinders poking out on this side and two cylinders poking out on that side. The big curvy thing at the back is the part of the engine that would have normally held the flywheel for the car and would have bolted directly to the gearbox. But obviously we're using it in an aircraft, so we have no gearbox on that end, and this is going to be the front of the engine. So on the front of the crankshaft we've got a special hub which interfaces the crankshaft to the propeller. I've just literally got it out of the box. I had a quick look. It's very clean. It comes in a plastic bag with one of those little bags that keeps it dry inside. Not sure what they call those, but anyway. And then I've got the DVD loaded up on the laptop next to it, and I also have the manual, and this is quite a thick manual, and it takes you through the building process one bit at a time. So what I'm proposing to do is to build the engine and video myself doing it, but I'm not going to show you me doing nut up after nut or things like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do some of it, and then I'll film a little recap of what I've done. So one of the first things I've got to do is to remove some studs from the outside of the casing, the block casing, and cover up all the orifices that need covering up with some masking tape and newspaper, ready to spray it. And I'm going to spray it in exactly the same way they do at Sonex. I'm going to spray it with high temperature wood burner type or barbecue type spray paint, black, matte black, because to be quite honest, it's pointless putting a shiny paint on the outside of these castings because they're not that good. They are a bit crusty around the outsides. They're made in Brazil now, I believe, because they still use the engines in Brazil, or have done up to recently. In fact, I think they were still making Beetles at one point. I don't know whether they do now anyway. So the casting's not particularly pretty on the outside, and you could spend some time making it pretty. It's only a question of removing some of the flashings and faults in the actual casting, but I can't be bothered. It's as simple as that. And I know Sonex don't bother either. They just spray theirs with high temperature barbecue black paint, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pretty much stick exactly to the instructions that they give you, and so on my recaps you'll find out exactly what it is they do. I've had to order, I wanted to use all the same lubrication and sealing compounds. One of them, which is the Aviation Former Gasket number 3, I couldn't find it in France. I've had to order it from the UK. It's going to take a couple of weeks to get here. I only ordered it yesterday, so I won't be getting round to actually joining the two halves of this together until that arrives, because don't tend to use gaskets for this. They use the rubbery liquid gaskets pretty much everywhere. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'll spread it over a few videos as I go along, and we'll see how it goes. So I'll get busy with the tape and newspaper and block up all these holes, remove the 4 studs I need to remove, and I'll report back later. Cheers for now. So here's the first step complete. I've cleaned the 2 halves of the crankcase, and that's what they look like now. So I basically did it using an attachment that I've got for my compressor, which allows me to fill up a container with some white spirit and blast white spirit all over them, so at high pressure. So I gave them a good blasting with the white spirit. Then I gave them a good blasting with just the air gun to get most of the white spirit out. And then I brought them indoors and was going to follow the advice on the DVD to basically wash them in warm soapy water. But I got indoors and suddenly discovered they won't fit in the kitchen sink. So then I was thinking, well, how am I going to do this if I can't get them in the kitchen sink? And I was thinking, I don't want to put them in the bath, it'll scratch the bath. And I suddenly thought, I wonder if they'll fit in the dishwasher. So I unloaded all the dirty stuff out of the dishwasher and managed to fit both halves in the dishwasher, and I put it on a quick wash cycle with some detergent, and they came out looking like sparkly new things. Very good, and they were quite warm when they came out, so they dried off really quickly. So I've left them another 24 hours to make sure they're 100% dry, and now I'm going to do the masking up of all the holes. So I need to watch the DVD just to work out what holes need masking up and which ones don't. And so I'll put the two halves together, mask it all up, and then we'll go and have a look at the spray booth that I've constructed in the loft. More later. So it's taken a while, but I've completed the masking up all the areas that I don't want paint on, and it's taken about 3 hours to do, but it's done. And so I've blocked off the openings where the cylinders go in. I've taped up where the push rods go, and also this area on the top here, there's a plate going on there, so with a gasket, so I've covered that area, blocked the hole up there for the filler, turning it around to the front. I've blocked up the crankshaft opening and where the oil pump goes as well. Coming around this way, I've masked off that area there, which is where the top mount oil cooler seals go. And obviously these two cylinders on this side, the 4 push rods, and on the rear of the engine where the crankshaft is and the camshaft opening. There's one other little area at the front, which is that where the little plate goes on there as well. And then finally underneath, if I can turn it over, there we go, where the oil sump and filter go, and then the 2 holes for the high and low pressure oil valves, for want of a better description. And so that's it. It's ready to go to the paint shop, which, as I said earlier, is in my loft. So we'll go there and have a look at that. So here we are up in the roof. Luckily there's a door that leads straight into here from the mezzanine where I've been currently working. And this is the old grenier up here, which is where they used to store all the corn and stuff on the farm many years ago. Below us are the 2 apartments that we rent out, and we've got guests in this evening, which is why I'm not shouting. So it looks a bit like this. And it actually goes on as far again the other side of that wall, but anyway. And round here, just turn the light round. Now this is an old tent, a frame tent that I've used for spraying for many years, and all I do is spray the thing in here and then zip it up. There's a little convector heater which keeps it warm, and it makes sure that the paint goes off nicely. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a bit of spraying now. Wish me luck. I'll let you know what happens. Et voila! Here's the crankcase all painted up. 2 coats of barbecue black high temperature paint, and I've peeled off all the masking tape and cardboard and stuff, and it's looking pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. It certainly looks a lot better with the paint on than it does without it. Really quite pleased with it. And so I'm now on to the next thing, which is to paint the cylinders. The factory does this as well, so I've masked up the 2 of the cylinders, and I'm just about to take them off to put a coat of paint on them. The other 2 I haven't unpacked yet, but these 2 are ready to be painted, so I'm going to go off and paint those now. More later. And so here we are. Nice painted cylinder heads. Not looking too bad at all. Now, you know, I was saying that you had to use the manual and the DVD and any updates. Well, I've already made my first error. It's not a mistake as such, but I didn't consult the manual properly before I painted the crankcase. And so I've missed off a step that I should have done. According to the manual, I've got the latest version of it up on the other laptop here. I haven't done this bit, which is drill and tap a hole for a 1/4 NPT fitting in the crankcase, and I haven't done that. So that is actually just about there, and it goes into where the filler cap goes, and it's the return of the oil back to the crankcase from the pump. So, as I said before, you've got to read everything. I was relying too much on the video and not consulting the manual. So I haven't got a 1/4 NPT tap, so I've ordered one on the internet because it's impossible to find one around here, and hopefully that'll be here in a few days or maybe a week or something like that. And as soon as that arrives, I'll drill it, tap it. I'm going to basically plug the other end of the filler hole with a sponge, turn the split the crankcase and turn it upside down so that all the bits drop out of the crankcase rather than dropping in, because I don't want to have to go through the entire washing process. And apart from that, Katie won't be very happy if I start putting stuff in the dishwasher again and it still smells of white spirit, so I'm in trouble. Anyway, what's next? Well, I'm running out of things to do with this engine build at the moment, due to the fact that my molybdenum, I can't say that word, grease has not arrived, nor has the aviation former gasket number 3, and a couple of other bits and pieces that I need in order to carry on, really. The next things to do are to put the conrods onto the crankshaft, and I bought my crankshaft already pre-prepared with the prop hub on it, and because of that it has a few other bits on it that you would normally have to fit. But it's all been done for me, because the last thing I wanted was the propeller to fly off, and I know that has happened when the hubs have detached from the crankshaft before, generally down to not having fitted it properly. Also, I've done the I've put the cam gear on the end of the camshaft. That's ready to rock and roll. And so basically it's down to the assembly of the crankcase next. So as soon as I get all my stuff, I will carry on with it. But so far so good, everything's looking fine. And I'll let you know how I get on. And until then, bye for now.